See how they just flow right through the job. It's been an interesting couple of days around here as I've had to wire this entire tiny house. Even though it's a tiny house, it's still packed with a lot of power. This house has a 200 amp 40 circuit panel. It really has just as many wires as a normal size house, just in a very condensed space. I thought it would be a good idea to show you how I wire a house. But before we get started, we need to go over some things. You're gonna want a tool belt. This is my tool belt. I have a Klein 5178 pouch on this side, and I've got a standard carpentry saddlebag on this side. This is where I keep my fittings, my staple and bobbers for the tape, drill bits, all sorts of stuff that I might need. Got a hammer holder on the back side. You can have a tape measure. I like to have either a 25-foot tape measure or a 16-foot tape measure. I've got a standard pair of lineman pliers. I've got a pair of Romex strippers. These are nice because they do both 14 and 12. These are my Klein screwdrivers. I've got a long-range screwdriver, number 2 square drive screwdriver. I've got a mid-range screwdriver, which is my favorite screwdriver out of all screwdrivers, pencil, and a marker. You're gonna want an 18-volt little impact drill, 3/4 inch bit. Let's get started. You're gonna want some wire. You gotta have some 14-3. This is gonna be used for all your 3-ways and multi-circuit type stuff. You're gonna want some 12-2. This is gonna be for all your 20 amp circuits. You're gonna want some 14-2 because that's gonna be all for your 15 amp circuits. It's really simple. If you got 30 amp circuits, you're gonna go to a 10 gauge wire. If you got 40 amp circuits, you're gonna go to an 8 gauge wire. 50 amp and 60 amp circuits, don't ask me why, but those get 6 gauge wire. And the increments go up from there. If you need to know more than that, go to the NAC handbook and find out for yourself. You're also gonna want one of these. This is a wire spooler. You put the wire like this on the spool, see? Goes through the guide, and then it pulls really nice and easy. If you don't have one of these, it will make your job a living hell. I strongly suggest you get a wire spooler so that you can easily feed these off of it. We need to go over a few things before we do the blueprints. This is a switch. This is a switch that has a 3-way. This is an outlet. This is a recess light. This is a ceiling light, pendant light, coach light, or any other light that is a fixture light. What does this mean besides the smiley face? This means switch to a light to another light. And you will see that in here over and over and over again. And all it says is not where and how you need to wire it. It just shows what lights go to what switch. I drew on here. These are my home runs. This is something that I strongly recommend you do. After we go through all of our plans and we figure out exactly where everything needs to go, we start wiring our boxes. So I like to start at the box with the spool of wire on the floor and go to the panel or to wherever I'm gonna go. But I start at the box. When it comes to running things in the ceiling, I like to run my holes on a 2.5 inch space. And that's because when you get into a situation like this, you can then get your hammer in between to staple your straps together, and it really keeps everything really nice. Now you're gonna wanna make sure that when you do this in an area that is not in the way of anything else. When we have a 3-gang or a switch box, we need to keep in mind of a few things. One, you gotta label stuff. So I like to use a P-Touch labeling machine. This is nice. Print these out, you put them on all your 3-ways, all your feeds, stuff like that. Also, we wanna have service loops on all of our wires. I like to do a fist of the service loop. That means that I got 3 or 4 inches this way, and then again. Another thing I want to point out is these wire management clips right here. They're very awesome because they can house up to 8 14-2s or 8 12-2 Romexes, and then a variation of 14-3s and stuff like that. And they make it very easy to manage the wire up and into the panel. So if the wire gets too short inside the box, you've got this extra service loop, which is 6 inches of wire. It's very important. The last thing you want is to be 2 inches short. That's what she said. Oop. When we get to our panel, we want to do a few things. One, when we're pulling our wire, we want to make sure that we pull it past the panel if we're coming from the top, or past the top of the panel if we're coming from the bottom. That way, when we go to trim out everything inside the panel into our circuit breakers, we're gonna have plenty of wire. The next thing we're gonna do is after we strip these back, all these labels, when you strip with the Romex stripper, you strip that piece off, save it. After you strip all the rest of the sheathing off, take that label, slide it back on so it's inside the panel, and this way it makes it very easy to identify things later on. When you're in the kitchen, you want to make sure that you run all your wires kind of in the middle of the cabinet space. You don't want the wires anywhere near 36 inches off the floor, because that's where the cabinet maker puts all their screws. Again, we want to make sure that we got our service loops, and then we also want to do, in a 3/4 inch hole, we only want 2 Romex per hole. That's important. And see how they just flow right through the job. Hey, it's been great hanging out with you today.